If you listen to what they're saying, they're telling you how big everything is about to be. And it goes way beyond a Bitcoin or crypto reserve. Another thing to keep in mind once I read this to you, okay? Keep in mind that there were other countries who literally said, whatever the US does, we'll wait and see what they do and then we'll proceed, which means that they're probably going to follow in the US's footsteps like usual. That's huge. Now, let me read this to you. This is what it says. The crypto industry elite are set to meet with U.S. politicians at the White House on Friday to discuss how the government will bring to reality the vision. And this is the important part. All the other stuff is not important. This is the important part. The vision of making the USA, quote, here's a quote, the crypto capital of the world. And that right there, if they can pull this off, folks, that right there means crypto, DLT, technology is going to flood the world. That means that the world's value of all kinds, everything. They told you, BlackRock said it, Ripple said it, everybody said it. Everything will be tokenized. Do you understand what that means? The potentiality, the ability, the possibility to make unbelievable amounts of value, not financial advice. The possibility to make unbelievable amounts of value in the next few years if one plays their cards right, does their research. We've been talking about this for a long time. That once the U.S., if the U.S. ever did unleash crypto, everyone would follow suit. And then crypto would spread through the U.S. like wildfire. But why? We knew why. We knew the entire time. Small businesses need that technology. They need to save money. They need it to be cheaper. They need to operate 24/7, 365. They need global reach to compete. And they need transparency. Small businesses need it. Medium businesses need it. SMEs. The big businesses need it. The banks need it. The governments, pay attention. There's a lot of government activity right now around DLT technology. They want it. Oh, my goodness. I'm telling you right now, it goes deep. And I said this last year before any of this came to light. I said, watch those videos. I said, watch for the government contracts. Watch for the military contracts. Didn't I say that? People still not thinking about that. Do you understand how much value are in private contracts? There's a word for it. I just can't bring it to the forefront of my mind. Governmental and military contracts. That's a consistently high value coming into chain all the time. Look at all the different private companies that work with the government. Now, why do I say that? Because I know there's so many thoughts. I'm jumping around. Why do I say that? Look at what they're doing. What does DLT specialize in? Transparency. What are the people calling for right now? There's all the rage all of a sudden. Even though I said it, I was talking about the Pentagon missing audits and all of these different things like that years ago. But now it's all the rage. Whatever. As long as it helps us profit off of these DLT chains, I'm all for it. Better late than never, right? They want transparency. DLT specializes in transparency. They want transparency. 2 + 2 = 4. 1 + 1 = 2. Deductive reasoning. That's another reason, but they're not saying it out loud. But we know, those of us with strong deductive reasoning know what this leads to. In my humble opinion, they will use DLT technology to track everything. I used to talk about this all the time. They will use DLT technology to track everything. They want to know where all that money is going, where it went. They want to know how these politicians are getting paid, making all this. I used to talk about that also, about how they're making all this money. Now people apparently want to know. DLT can track everything, make sure everything can be known by everyone who it's necessary to be known by, of course. But you understand where I'm going with this? Now, All of that leads to what? What's important to money makers? Bringing in value. Consistent value. The prices of XRP, Bitcoin, all the other ones that are involved, top utility coins across the board, all bullish. It all leads to the possibility of them going to a much, much, much higher prices, not just this year. And I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. But over the next 2, 3, 4 years, it depends. It depends. This is why you're going to have to watch the news. Read the articles, do research is what I mean. Because I definitely don't trust the mainstream so-called news. So when I say news, people, my minds may automatically go to the mainstream. I don't trust them. I just don't. This is my way. I'm not saying you have to feel that way. But I mean, you're going to need to do your research to be able to track how fast that technology is being implemented, to be able to know if there's a government contract or project that is issued on an XRPL or a Chainlink or a Solana or a Stellar, whatever. To know if the military is going to use or is having meetings with these Bankcoin blockchains, because that's news, and maybe it'll change in the future. Certain types of news, you ever notice this? Certain types of news gets buried. It's like they don't want you to know the super bullish news. They don't. It gets buried. I've read some certain bank documents. All of a sudden, it's hard to find them. Thank goodness for downloading and screenshotting. And almost no one will talk about it. I've read other documents about things going on, and all of a sudden, nobody's really talking about it. When it's huge news, certain things will get buried, is my point. You're going to have an eagle's eye. But if you have that eagle's eye, if you're willing to do just a modicum, a little bit of research from time to time, you're going to be on top of things and be able to make moves most other people are not going to see. Most other people didn't even know crypto was going to come back, but we did. We did the research, and a lot of people were able to profit off of that rise in price when it happened at the end of 2024, when it happened a little bit recently. People have been constantly making profit off of these different things. Not financial advice, I'm just saying, but that comes from their own research. Their own research. When everybody was telling them, hey, crypto is dead, they did their own research. They made some moves. That's how you do it. When the world spins in a circle, you may want to move backwards because typically the crowd is not correct. So doing one's own research and making your own decisions is going to be very important, because no one will be able to tell you to move quickly. These things are going to move fast. Boom, 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 boom. One thing after another, in my humble opinion. And not necessarily the speed I'm talking about, one thing happening after another, but it's going to be I think a lot of the big catalysts are going to be so very difficult to uncover, or rather, it's not going to be covered widely by the media of any kind, that if you discover it, you're going to be one of a special few. So I'm telling you now, they want transparency. DLT provides transparency. They're all in on crypto right now, allegedly, but they're not discussing the actual technology. You think they don't know about it? You don't think that's for a reason? They're talking, we're going to have a Bitcoin reserve. And of course, you sell off crypto reserve. You sell off some crypto, then you could pay off some certain things. They're only talking about value mostly. You think they don't know about the utility? You think they don't want to use that utility? They're talking about saving capital. You think they're not thinking about those cheap prices of how DLT makes everything cheap? They promise the people, we're going to be transparent. You think they don't want to have something where people could just go on and just look at what's going on? So now the people are off the so-called government's back, right? You'll be surprised how easily appeased people can be. You give them a little look-see. And all of that together equals just this boiling pot of value waiting to explode. I mean, the applications of this, the possibilities are just endless at this point. It's unbelievable. So it says they want to make the USA the crypto capital of the world. What does that say about how far the utility will go? Here, did you see that article came out? It was about maybe about 2-3 days ago. And that article was talking about, and I 100% disagree. They were promoting the bigger banks merging with other banks again. But wait, what have we seen with that? We've seen the bigger banks over the last 3 to 4 years gobbling up these smaller banks, putting them in a rather precarious position so that they can take over. But wait 1 minute, because this is big. This gets deep. What did the small, medium-sized banks say? Because they spoke a lot. People can't say that they didn't have meetings and they didn't voice their opinions. Yes, they did. What did the small, medium-sized banks say in all of those articles that came out the last 3 years? They didn't like the fact that the big banks were blotting them out. They didn't like the big banks were stepping on them, taking them over. They made it clear they want to grow. They want to become the big banks. So there's that, all that friction is still there. All that competition is still there. What does that mean? So now, if they can get their hands on DLT technology, and this is why over the years they've been talking about DLT. This is why over the years, even though I believe a lot of the so-called goodness that comes out of the BIS, no disrespect, I think it's fake. I do. They try to play like the nice cop role. There's like all the rest of the banks are bad cops, especially the IMF. And then you have like the BIS tries to play the nice cop, but it's not real. It's just the role. The world is a stage, my humble opinion. But that's why the BIS as the nice cop is always like, well, the small and medium sized banks, they need DLT. They need to, work with the private sector. Right. Because, but there is truth behind the power that DLT can give to the small, medium-sized banks. We're talking global reach. We're talking lowering prices. We're talking more capital to allocate, reallocate. They're saving money now instead of hemorrhaging money. They can offer new products to their customers, right? Lending. Their customers can lend. They can lend it for them. It's so dynamic. Staking, delegation, tokenization. They'll tokenize it for you. You don't know how to tokenize things. Believe me, they're going to offer it. I'm telling you. Well, you don't know how to tokenize things and take the picture and get the Ethereum or Solana or Algorand to tokenize. Who wants to go through all that? Most people don't. Most people don't want to involve themselves in that process. So what can they do? Maybe the banks offer them a service. Maybe the banks have a business they're associated with that does it for them. Either way, they're going to offer that. And that brings so much more potential and value to small, medium-sized banks. But wait, that's not important to you or I, except it is in the way that will keep whichever chains are involved. And it looks like Ripple's been saying they want to go wild. That's what they've been saying. They have tight, I wouldn't even say close ties with the whole political spectrum of the U.S., but they have a lot of respect from the businesses in the U.S. That's what's important. So whichever chains are chosen, they can be flooded with so much value from different points that it's almost there's no way to truly predict how high things can go. And that's one of the fun parts, I guess. Sure, could it go in the opposite way? Yeah. There's always that possibility. Pendulum swings equally to the left as it does to the right, which means there's equal possibilities. But when you start looking at the evidence, you say to yourself, wait a minute. I think things are leaning heavily to the positive right now. And most of the evidence I'm seeing points towards that. But it's almost unfathomable how much value could be brought in. And I'm just looking right now. I was just looking at the U.S. I'm just speaking about the U.S. But once again, remember, never forget global. So I know it's going to be difficult. We need to be watching not just the U.S., the entire globe. And I'm going to tell you something else, folks, that's going to get overlooked. It is. And a lot of people, they don't care because they're not patient. They write things off. They push off things to each his own. I don't do that. Those so-called areas that people look at as underdeveloped, do not underestimate them. Don't. They have untapped resources that can now be, and I say now more than before because now crypto is about to be unleashed. So RWA tokenization, that whole flood may not be as far as we think. It may not. They have untapped resources that can be scanned in the ground, and that value can be added to chain. People are not taking that serious enough. I don't know about you. I want that money. I want that value. I want to see these things explode. That is something potent. Now you have everybody doing it. Wait a minute. No. Now you have everybody doing it. Looking at those untapped resources. Early on, we saw them do that in Africa. Oh, all this gold. That hasn't been taken out the ground. They scanned the ground. They saw the gold. Now they were tabulating the value of that gold. You think they're not going to act on that? Yes, they will. Then we saw it happen in South America and Central America. They were looking at those untapped resources. Now you're hearing what? The USA. Well, we have some resources as well in the USA. All of you. I want all of you to tokenize everything. Yeah, I do. I'm here to win. Oh, we have victory after victory after victory, for sure. We may have taken an L here and there, whatever. We've had so many W's. We need this big one coming up. There's a big one coming up. Explosion. So those untapped resources are something I'm keeping a close eye on. So now, I know there's a huge section right there for the bank coins. You're saying to yourself, hey, Mick, let's get you a little bit of that Bitcoin. I know. Okay, hold on. Because Bitcoin, look at this. Hold on. Are you seeing this push? All of these big money people, all of these people, all of a sudden, who were not talking about Bitcoin, they didn't care about Bitcoin. We're starting to see them come out of the woodworks. Right. Interesting. Is the mainstream push beginning with Bitcoin? Huh? You tell me. Look at this here. This article is titled, Bitcoin gets March 25th blast off date. Blast off date? Why March 25th? I guess we're going to find out. As US dollar hits 4-month low. Bitcoin bulls may only need to wait 3 weeks for the exploding global money supply to make itself felt in BTC price action. It says Bitcoin is predicted to, quote, blast off by who? Who's predicting it? Just tell me that. To, quote, blast off, unquote, in 3 weeks as global liquidity trends turn in favor of crypto and risk assets. Look how fast everything flipped around. You see? It says new X analysis from Andre Dragos, European head of research at asset management firm Bitwise, predicts global money supply hitting new all-time highs. Yes, but sir, give the reasons why. Give the details why. That's where the power is. That's where the substance is. Talk to us. We understand very clearly. We understand. So, it says a new Bitcoin price tailwind is brewing as US dollar strength drops to its lowest level since the start of November last year. The US dollar index, which measures dollar strength against a basket of trading partner currencies, is threatening to drop below 104. Data from Cointelegraph Markets Pro and TradingView shows. For Dragos, the implications are already clear. This is what he says, quote, if this trend continues like that, global money supply will soon reclaim new all-time highs, unquote. Very interesting. Describing DXY as the, quote, most bullish chart you will see today. Yeah, we've seen a rugged, disastrous, ugly DXY for a few years. We were seeing that. Remember that? When we used to track the DXY. Sometimes you have to give yourself a break. You don't need to stress yourself out with things that are supposed to be good and fun, you know? It's good information, sure. Sometimes you got to know when to push yourself back away from the table and say enough is enough. The greenback, but it looks like things are changing around, right? The greenback has yet to benefit substantially from the new U.S. Administration, while trade tariffs continue to weigh on risk asset sentiment. We'll see how all that works out. Analyst Colin talks crypto eyed a rebound in total M2 money supply. Wait a minute. In total M2 money supply for clues about a new Bitcoin breakout. Wait a minute. Let me read that again. Eyed a rebound in total M2 money. Okay, I see where it is because of the weakness of the dollar. Okay. I understand where he's coming from. I had to just process that for a moment. It says, as Cointelegraph reported, Bitcoin remains highly sensitive. Listen, there's so many factors. I try to be as realistic as possible. And when you're looking at the M2 money supply, look at everything. Look at all that credit debt. Listen, yes, I would love for people to be able to spend a little bit more value and make crypto go boom. Sure, why not? That's a beautiful thing if it were to happen. However, there's a lot of debt that needs to be paid. Credit cards are maxed out. This is what they're saying. Savings accounts were bottomed out. So, I mean, how long? I mean, what do people do first? Do they invest first or do they pay those types of things down? I'm talking about the majority. This is something that I question. So I'm trying to look at all the different variables equally, not just the positives. And right now I say that's about 50-50. I say it's about 50-50, maybe leaning a little bit more towards the negative as far as, hey, people need to handle their business first. And I think they're going to handle their business first. But it depends. There are other unknown variables out there that haven't taken form. They're still more amorphous and not fully formed just yet. Like, do the people receive some sort of what do you call it? Some sort of dividend checks or something like that? Does that actually occur? What do they do with that? Then there's how do you tabulate something that is unknown? But I'm saying there's a good amount of catalyst on both sides. So I proceed with the M2 money supply right now cautiously, with the information coming out about it cautiously. That's how I look at that. But I hope it's going to be a positive for everyone, for sure. I hope things are changing around. I want there to be a good environment here. It says, as Cointelegraph reported, Bitcoin remains highly sensitive to global liquidity trends, with bull markets closely tied to phases of expansion. I've heard some talk about, I can't remember which country it is. Are there countries that are looking to do, what do you call it? Like injection of stimulus? You know, they call it stimulus, but really it's manipulation. We've seen over the years a lot of different countries flood their systems with a little bit of capital to keep things afloat, you know, these false bubbles. But it makes things look good for a while. It keeps the bubble from popping for a while. But I'm not sure if that was 100% accurate or if that was just speculation on the part of certain researchers and analysts, you know, because article writers do that from time to time. I mean, I speculate as well. But we will see. So let's see. Okay, we're going to leave off there for the day. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. But wait a minute. It says, quote, March 25th is the approximate date. They're going by the charts. That's, I mean, I guess they believe in it 100%. March 25th. So I suppose keep your eyes out around that time period. I don't really like it when people give a solid date on something because that can lead to disappointment. It can. You get everyone excited. Like March 25th, and then it doesn't happen. It's like, oh, some people are like that. I'm not really like that. But then once again, like I said, I don't take these solid dates seriously. But I will keep my eye open just in case. Around that time, I will keep my eyes open. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.